Welcome to the Steps in Purpose podcast with Edie Ann. This podcast explores emotional awareness, faith, and purposeful living through short, reflective conversations designed to help you notice where you are and take your next step with clarity. Thanks for being here. Welcome back. I'm really glad you pressed play today. Before we go any further, I want to have you give yourself a moment to kind of arrive. You don't need to fix anything. Just notice where you are. Maybe you can just ease your shoulders a bit, release the tension on the wheel if you're driving. Today we're starting at the beginning of the emotion gauge with disengaged. It's the dark red quadrant on the gauge. If you're here, I want you to hear this first. You are still here. Even if it feels like you're far away from yourself, even if your emotions feel muted, you are still here. Disengaged often looks quiet on the outside and super loud on the inside. You're functioning, you're showing up, but internally something feels dimmed. People describe it in different ways, like feeling flat, feeling distant, feeling disconnected, feeling like you're watching your life instead of actually living it. Sometimes the hardest part is that main experience is the absence of feeling. And that absence can be confusing. But the absence of experience is actually still an experience. Here's what matters. Disengaged is not a flaw. It's part of our human design. Disengagement steps in when the system needs a break. It lowers emotional intensity so your body and your mind can conserve your energy. I often think of it like a dimmer switch, right? So life has been bright, loud, demanding. Maybe the pain's lasted too long, and your system quietly reaches up and turns the lights down. That dimming can feel a little unsettling, can feel like relief, and sometimes it can feel like both. What usually follows, though, unfortunately, is judgment. We ask ourselves, why are we feeling this way? We tell ourselves we should feel grateful, motivated, or even excited. But what's really happening is protection. Disengaged is rarely ever laziness. It's rarely a character flaw. It's often your nervous system saying, we've been carrying this for too long. Disengaged can show up after stress. It can show up after grief, trauma, burnout, caretaking, chronic pain, and emotional overload, right? So it can also show up after big life changes, even good ones. The body can say, this is a lot, even when the mind says, this is good. Here's an image that will help, okay? Imagine your emotions like a radio. In disengaged, the volume turns down. Sometimes the signal gets fuzzy. You still hear something, it just feels like it's far away. So you try turning the dial. You try staying busy. You try pushing harder. You try fixing yourself. But disengaged doesn't respond to force. It responds to gentleness. If you listen closely, your inner world might sound something like, whatever, I'm fine. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I can't feel anything anyway. These words can sound cold, but sometimes they're the last little life raft keeping you steady. Here's something important to know. When your system is conserving that energy, it naturally reduces desire, interest, and emotional range. That's not a malfunction. That's the design. If you've been trying to force excitement back into your body, it can feel like trying to start a campfire with wet wood. It needs time, warmth, air, and patience. Let's pause together for a minute, okay? I want you to take one slow breath in, then one slow breath out. Just notice what feels muted today, what feels heavy, what feels distant. Nothing to analyze here. We're not trying to fix anything. We're just noticing. Awareness is enough for today. Disengaged can show up in the body too, right? Low energy that rest can't fix. It could be brain fog, zoning out, scrolling more than normal, right? Feeling slightly disconnected from yourself even. It can also affect faith. Prayer could feel flat. Worship can feel distant. Scripture can feel like words instead of life, right? You might hear something like, oh, God doesn't hear me anyway. He's too busy for me. So if that's you, I want you to hear this. Distance in feeling does not mean distance in presence. God doesn't require you to feel spiritual, to be held spiritually. Sometimes faith looks like just staying. I want to offer you one simple grounding moment that you can use anytime disengagement shows up. Place one hand on your chest or your stomach, whichever feels more grounding. Take a slow breath in and out, and quietly say to yourself, "This is disengaged. It is not who I am. It's an emotion. This is protection." Then say, "I can be gentle here." That's it. Under disengaged, there's often more than numbness. There can be grief, anger, overwhelm, loneliness that felt too big to mess with, right? Disengaged protects you from the intensity of those layers. So if you feel numb, it makes sense. Your system is doing its best. And yes, you can move forward, just gently. Before we close, here's one reflection to sit with. Where in my life do I feel most checked out right now? Where in my life do I feel most checked out right now? That awareness counts. If disengaged has made you feel behind, rest is part of forward movement. Repair is progress. And reconnection starts with awareness. Today, you noticed. And that's how we begin. Before we close, I want to share one more thing with you. If these short reflections resonate and you find yourself wanting more structure, more language, or more tools to help you understand where you are emotionally and how to move forward, those resources exist. The Steps in Purpose Foundation book lays the groundwork, and the Emotion Gauge online course offers deeper guidance and practical tools you can apply in your own life. This podcast will always remain a place for awareness and reflection. The deeper work happens when you choose to step into it, to apply it. If you feel ready to explore more, you can find these resources at edieanne.com. That's EDIEANNE.com. Thank you for spending this time with me, and remember, your next step matters. So until next time, keep stepping in purpose.